Hello and welcome to another edition of Empathy at the Table. Folks, I'm really pleased to introduce you to our next guest, Gerry Parran. Gerry has been quietly contributing to the negotiation community for decades. With over 40 years of experience in the field, he's built a reputation for helping professionals approach negotiation with clarity, integrity, and practical skill. Now, I first came across Gerry through his book, 33 Ways Not to Screw Up Negotiating. What a great title for a book. It was refreshing, and it's a direct guide that highlights the common mistakes that people make at the negotiation table and how to avoid them. Over the course of his career, Gerry has worked extensively in business development, management consultant, and today he focuses on helping executives and organizations master both the art and the science of negotiation. Gerry Parran, thank you for joining us. How was that for an introduction?
That was wonderful. I'll send you that $20 for such a wonderful introduction.
The price just went up, actually. It's 25.
You got it. That's worth it. Thank you.
Gerry, it's lovely to have you. Thank you very much for joining us. For our listeners who will be rushing to LinkedIn to look at your profile and figure out who you are, can you share a little bit about yourself and your trajectory into the world of negotiation?
I'd be happy to. And thank you for having me, Tony. I'm flattered because I know you have a very widely known and very positive reputation in the negotiating community. So I'm flattered for your invitation. So thank you again. But as far as I'm concerned, I got started negotiating, not consciously, but unconsciously. When I was right out of college, I'd moved to Chicago from a small town in Ohio, a rural community. I moved to Chicago and had sticker shock at the price difference in the cost of living. And so I got a job in the computer industry. And this is when computers were the size of multiple refrigerators and were stored in buildings the sizes of garages. And it took an army of people to care and feed for them. So anyway, they were all multi-million-dollar pieces of equipment, but I wasn't paid nearly anything like that. The starting pay was not particularly generous. So I needed to watch my expenses, personal expenses, very closely. And so I started to negotiate only out of survival because I needed to, and not purposefully. So it was very organic, if you will. And and then over time, because of the computer business, it was all capital equipment and a lot of board level kind of decisions. I decided I really wanted to learn about negotiating formally. And back then, this is in the late 70s, early 80s, there really wasn't much offered in the way of negotiating training at that point, except for how to be a car salesman or a real estate agent. And it was all very much win-lose negotiations and tactics at the table. If the guy says this, then you say that. Well, I've never had the best memory. So trying to keep all of these scripts and all of that in my mind was difficult. But I tried. I did my best, and I took a number of these seminars, and I guess I retained enough of it, was able to put it together so that I could get by. And over the course of time and my career, I got better at it, not because I had that I worked at it. It was just practice. I made plenty of error. I had to negotiate a lot of contracts in a lot of situations that weren't contracts, but it just, I just did a lot of negotiating with people. And so made mistakes, but I think I've made many more good decisions and bad decisions when it came to negotiating. And the first formal negotiating training I had was probably in the year 1999. And it was from a canned course, and it was based on William Murray's book, Getting to Yes. And so that was my first formal negotiating training. And since then, I've probably gotten better at it. And now in my own business, which is not a negotiating business, I don't have a negotiating firm. I actually am in the fabric business, and I import fabrics from overseas, primarily Asia. And everything's a negotiating situation. People from India, from China, from the Middle East, they've been negotiating since the dawn of time, and they have elevated it to a high art form. So multicultural negotiating is something that I've had to get acquainted with in the past 20 years. I guess I've made some mistakes too, but again, made more correct decisions and wrong decisions, and actually enjoy negotiating with people from other cultures. But it does take a lot of listening and a lot of patience and checking yourself before you say things. Hopefully I haven't gone too long, but that's the good and the bad of it.
Yeah, we're going to come on to that later on, actually, because I found your profile really interesting. You negotiating in the textile mills industry, right, in Asia. Yes. And between Asia and US. But we'll come on to that. But I wanted to, and it's already leaked out from what you said in the beginning, because when I was researching you, one of the things I found was I got this sense that you are a lifelong learner. You mentioned in one of your podcast how you learn from your peers. You mentioned by name Mike Inman, Keld, Seth Freeman. You mentioned these people as people. Yes. That you look at and you learn from. This for me is a really great skill to have, because a lot of times you meet people in the negotiation world who they've learned negotiation maybe the hard way through experience, and they haven't really spent time really upgrading those skills. But it seems to me this is something that you place a lot of emphasis on.
It is, and I've learned a great deal from all those individuals that you just mentioned, plus others. And I by no means have the lock on negotiating experience and technique and all those things, but so I try to learn from as many of these people as I can, because they all have their own value that they offer in their own ways, their own perspectives, all of which I find very valuable. So I'm all about learning from others.
Yeah, and I'm really keen to, for want of a better term, democratize negotiation and democratize and demystify negotiation. This idea that negotiation just rests in the arms of people who know how to kind of cut great deals and negotiate high stakes conversations. I think it's really been sensationalized. But that's not really the case. I mean, we negotiate every single day, and yet there are a majority of people who hate the word negotiation. So it seems a bit of an anathema to me that you hate negotiating or you don't like it, but yet it's something that you do every single day to get better outcomes. How do you, when you're doing your trainings and when you're talking about negotiation, how do you make negotiations seem something that people shouldn't run away from?
Well, a couple different ways. I actually do some training, and in the training, it's targeted towards people that aren't professional negotiators, that do have that fear of negotiating or that dislike or distaste for it. And I try to present them ideas on how to negotiate without really thinking of it as negotiation, because people do have that fear, as you've said. And I try to explain how they can negotiate, little tactics, little techniques, easy things that they can do that don't take great skill, great learning, little things that they can employ on a daily basis in their own lives, at a restaurant, at a car dealership, easy things that will give them some confidence that if they just try, and that's the biggest thing, they just, for some reason, we're all afraid to try. We're afraid of rejection. I'll do it wrong. I'll embarrass myself. And I try to help them, give them some nuggets, some tools that will help alleviate that, fear of trying. And I always try to encourage, just try it. It's not going to be, as bad as you think. Just try it. I said, a lot of people actually expect you to negotiate. And if you don't, it's like they're thinking, that person was an easy mark. But, so it's not often that you're going to end up hostile. I said, just be pleasant, be playful, and try some of these techniques. And as long as you're polite and courteous and professional, you'll get more success than you probably ever dreamed you would. So I try to get them comfortable just with the notion of trying, and it's
Yeah.
not as bad as they think.
Well, let's say I'm a novice and I've never negotiated before, and I'm listening to this podcast and I think, wow, yeah, I like the cut of Gerry's jibs. I really like what he's saying. It makes sense. Give me maybe 2 or 3 things that I could go and do this evening or tomorrow and say, right, Gerry told me to try this, so let's see if it works.
Well, a couple of things, and I start this way. I say the one thing about negotiating, if you're going to get good at it or some proficiency, you got to practice it. It's like a sport or like an instrument. To get good at it, you've got to do it regularly. You got to make it into a habit. But anyway, some things that and I learned this one from Mike Inman, who you know, and I just think it's a great line, and I use it because it's so easy for people to get and to use. And what Mike said was, when you've gotten some good or service, maybe you'd say, this is a good deal, but I was expecting a great deal. Is there something you can do to improve upon what you've just given me, what you've just done? And it's a very simple line. It's not intimidating, and people seem to resonate with that idea. And people tend to like it. People tend to use it. I use it, and I can't say I've ever had any negative consequence or feedback. It's just a nice, simple statement, and I tell everyone: be playful, be courteous, be professional at all times, and if you're a little playful, people will respond kind of playfully, and they'll see that you're not being a jerk. They'll probably, people want to help you. They honestly do want to help you, and they'll give it some thought. Well, maybe I could add this, do this, whatever. And people seem to like that one particular idea. The other,
it sounds. Yeah, go ahead. You got another one, another nugget.
Yeah, the other one. I mean, I've got a ton of them. The other one, it just came to my mind quickly. I stole from Chris Voss, and anybody in negotiating probably knows it. Is how am I going to do that when presented with a difficult ask? That is such an easy thing to come back with. Is how am I going to do that? And people really, I see them all writing it down or take it notes, whatever. It's like, say it playfully, professionally, and and again, you'll probably get a very positive kind of response. So that one's from Chris Voss.
And when you look at, and this question actually came from Mike, who I met in person. I met him. He bought me lunch in Denver a couple of weeks ago. So yeah, very, very lucky. He's a great guy. So if you're listening to this one, Mike, thank you very much.
I like Mike a lot.
And he asked me this question, which was, how do you know when somebody's a good negotiator?
I suppose if they came across to me as if they weren't negotiating, professionals in any line of work, this is just my opinion, professionals in any line of work, they make the difficult or whatever they're doing look easy. And so if I were negotiating with somebody and it was kind of a complex or kind of negotiation, not over the check at a restaurant, if I thought that like he's making this look really easy, I would tend to think, now he could prove me wrong later, but my initial reaction would probably be, ooh, this guy's good. He's making it look easy. He's good. He's prepared. He's done all his homework. He's designed, a deal that we both get value from. He's, good at the table. He's courteous. He's professional. Those would be things that would tip me off that this guy's a pro. He knows what he or she know what they're doing.
Yeah. Yeah, you mentioned that because I was going to bring it up. Who do you think are the best negotiators, men or women? We're going to put
You
a
know, I
cat
don't.
amongst the pigeons here, Gerry.
Well, I've negotiated with both, and to be honest with you, I've negotiated with some very challenging women. I can't really say one is easy or better, less skill than another. I mean, if I walked into a negotiation and there was a woman sat there that I had to negotiate with, I wouldn't think, oh, good, it's a woman. This will be easy. I wouldn't think that
Yeah,
at all. Matter of fact, might think quite the opposite, that this lady's going to be prepared, because I think women tend to be a little more prepared. They do their homework more. So, I can't drive a stake in the ground and say men are better, women are better. I wouldn't
yeah,
say that
yeah,
at all. I would have my guard up if it was a woman just as much as I would as a man, and maybe even a little more.
yeah, yeah. So my body of work is around emotionally intelligent negotiation. Is how to you've just said that you would have your guard up, right? So your guard up would be protecting. You're feeling maybe that there's an emotion behind it that's driving your sense that you need to protect yourself. And so my interest is, what's that emotion, right? What's that emotion that you're feeling? What's driving that feeling that makes Gerry feel that he needs to protect himself against the whoever they're negotiating against?
First thing that came to my mind when you asked that is fear of the unknown. I don't know this person, or if I do, I only know them, superficially, very little. I don't know what, I mean, this is at the outset. Now, I would hope to learn things, but at the outset, I don't know about this person. I don't know what they know about me. I don't know what their
Mm,
true intentions are. I don't know if they're credible, if they're consistent. It would just be kind of a normal, I don't know the person, so I'm going to put my guard up and play it as we move forward. But on the other hand, if I'm a good negotiator, and I hope I am, I would have done my homework. I would have prepared for the negotiation. I would have built up some body of knowledge on who the person was who would be sitting beside or across from me. So that would make me less apprehensive if I knew who this person was, what their style was, what their intentions were, how they've reacted or done in the past. That would reduce my fear
mm.
of the unknown. But regardless, if it's a negotiation, I'd always have a little bit of fear of the unknown, a healthy respect for the other. That's what I should say, healthy respect
Yeah, yeah.
for the skills of the other negotiator. Put it that way.
Yeah, I like that. I like that. Um, Talking about now, maybe you can share some of your experience of negotiating in Asia, because, when I first got into the world of negotiation, I heard this as a statistic, but I don't know whether it was true or not. But the idea that the way people negotiate is a direct reflection on the level of confidence they have in the government, right? The government of their particular country. And so when you go to maybe some of the Nordic countries where there's a high level of confidence in the governments, they tend to trust more. They tend to have a more trusting way of negotiating. Whereas maybe where there are other countries where there's maybe a more flexible relationship with the government, they tend to, from the get-go, not trust so much and base it more on building a relationship. You've negotiated across cultures. Do you have any insights in that?
Well, I've never really done any true negotiation with Europeans. So that I have nothing to contribute. Although I understand what you're saying. The people that I've dealt the most with are from India, China, and a couple of Middle Eastern countries. And like I said, in the textile world, which is the textiles have been around since the dawn of man, and haggling
Mm,
over textiles and pricing has been around since the dawn of man. So there's almost kind of this just inbuilt way that it is done, almost, I don't know, regardless of the government. It's just, that is the way we've acquired goods like this in the past, the way we've negotiated in the past. It's almost kind of inbuilt into the culture. And Americans, we're newcomers. in the world,
Mm.
basically compared to these people, and especially when it comes to textiles, which is from the dawn of time. So I really, don't have a lot of, I can't say I've ever thought about how people negotiate in relation to how they feel about their government, to be honest with you.
It's quite interesting what you're saying because there seems then to be, and when you think about it, it makes sense that not only is there a difference in maybe cultures, but also across industries, right? Across industries, there's different ways in which people are expected to negotiate across those industries. So then it would lead me to think that if you were from a different culture but in a similar industry, there is a way in which, even though you're from a different culture, this is how we negotiate in the industry, and these are some of the kind of rules and regulations that we stick to.
Yes,
That
at
makes
least
sense.
in the textile industry.
Mm,
Now that might
yeah.
be different in the high tech industry. And I've come from the computer industry. I've just never negotiated with anybody um, in another country in my days in the computer or the consulting business. My multicultural experience just comes from textiles. And you're right. There's just a way that it seems that people across cultures do it. And I just attribute it to, well, textiles have been around for so long
Yeah.
that, the whole world or all the people who are ever involved in, that's just the way they've done it. They pass it along to generation after generation. And it's just the way it's done. And sometimes it's a little rough, but that's just built into the process. Like, don't get mad if the guy's yelling at you because your price is too high. That's just what you do. That's what you do.
Yeah.
So, and I've had to learn. Let me tell you, this wasn't like, the first time. It was, a lot of this was kind of shocking to me, but you do it enough times and it's like, oh yeah,
Yeah.
but
It's all an act. So your book, 33 Ways Not to Screw Up a Negotiation. I know you have another book coming out. Is it out yet? The later? Okay. But let's, I was curious, the title, why 33? Where did that number come from? And
well,
why did you choose to call it, ways not to screw up a negotiation?
well, it wasn't my idea.
Okay.
First off, my publisher was developed a series of books and she came up with this number 33 ways not to, and then fill in the blank. And so she asked a bunch of us who she knew, what is it that you think you could write about? um, I said negotiation, but there's a 33 ways not to screw up human resources, 33 ways not to screw
Okay.
up journalism. So it's a whole series of books, and mine just happened to be negotiating. So my publisher came up with the title. It is not mine.
So masterstroke. So I think when you were doing your research, did you reach out on LinkedIn for some research? Do I recall
I
that?
Yes, I did, and I think you and I actually spoke by phone at that time.
Right.
And I was working on another book that never came to fruition, unfortunately. And I was looking for how other people negotiated.
That's right.
I
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
know how I do it. I know how Kel does it. Kind of thing. But I wanted to know how people, kind of the man on the street,
Mm.
everybody, how did they do it? And that's what I was aiming for. But unfortunately, the idea was not picked up on to move forward. So then
Yet.
I, yet, uh, perhaps it will in the future. I have all the research, and I feel bad. I had lots of ideas, but now the book is something else. But
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
that the way it
And
is.
and so what are some of the ways? I'm sure people would be interested here. What are some of the ways that people screw up in negotiation?
Well, the first one early on in the book, I don't know if it was the first one or not. I say that you need to have a strong nuclear policy. And that refers to the days of the Cold War in the Soviet Union and the United States. Um, you know, each had enough nuclear weapons, and probably still do, to destroy the world. And so, to have a strong nuclear policy, a country needed to be credible that Yes, in fact, I have weapons and they're verifiable that I can destroy you. And they have to be consistent in the way they use them. And, the United States and the Soviet Union proved that they were. And Israel's another example. If anybody attacks Israel, everybody in the world knows Israel's going to hit them back. I mean, it's just, and Israel's credible. It has a strong military, and it's very consistent. So when you negotiate with the Israelis, you kind of know what you're going to get just from past behavior. And I said, to be a really good negotiator, you too have to be credible. People have to know that your word, you mean what you say. And if you say you're going to do something or not do something, that's what you're going to do. And you need to have, you know, uh, that credibility, and you need to be consistent where over years or some period of time, you can demonstrate that, yes, when I've said this, I've got 20 years that say that this is what I have done. Warren Buffett was great at this. Warren Buffett, when he negotiated with people because of his reputation, because if he was credible and consistent, he bought the Burlington Northern Santa Fe Railroad, huge railroad, and it was like a 15-minute phone call because the CEO of the Burlington Northern knew, well, Buffett owned 17%, I think, of the railroad at that point, but the CEO knew that Buffett's got the money. And he'll, through what we've seen from him, he'll leave us all in place. He's going to leave us alone. He's just going to give us the money to make the railroad better. And so his return will be better. So we're happy to sell it to him. And there weren't armies of lawyers in conference rooms for months hashing out the deal. It was a 15-minute phone call. It's like, I'd like to buy the railroad. I'll give you $3 a share more than what your current stock price is, because that's what we think the valuation should be. Do you want to do the deal or not? And the guy was like, sure, because Buffett was credible and he was consistent. And I said, that's what you need to be. Go into your boss and say, I want to raise it. He goes, no. I say, well, listen, here's what I've done. I've done X, Y, and Z, and I've been doing it here for years. And it's like, oh, well, you're right. I never thought of that. Just the budget says I can only do this. But you're right. You've demonstrated value over the years, and when we've asked you to do something, you've done it. You've been very credible. You've been very consistent. And it puts you in a strong position as a negotiator. So, that's one nugget I can't hit upon strong enough.
Yeah, yeah. I think it's something I definitely talk about a lot in the work I do is reputation. Because oftentimes you may not even be in the room and the negotiations already began because your reputation precedes you. And so what you're saying I like that with being consistent and credible. If you build up a reputation for being consistent and credible, then, as you said, the negotiation has already been done or is certainly well on its way before you even enter into the room.
Yep.
Yeah.
One other quick thing.
Yeah. I'm picking up nuggets. I've got pages of notes here, Gerry.
It's practice. I believe I bring it up in the book, but Philip Brown, who you probably know over in England, that he preaches practice. And even in my classes that I give, that's what I preach too. To get good at it, you got to practice. So, if you're not committed to doing it, don't waste your time.
Yeah. There's one question I want to ask, and this is, I'm shaping my thoughts on this at the moment. So I'd love to hear your thoughts as I'm trying to come up with my own kind of hypothesis, and it's about the collaboration and power in a relationship, in a negotiation. And so the question is, do you think you can be collaborative when also being honest about power in a relationship? In other words, if I know I have the power, if I know I'm stronger than you, or if I know I have all the cards, then entering into a collaborative style negotiation is really just maybe just a charade, because actually, if we're to be honest about the power, this is not a negotiation. I have the power, I hold the cards, and I'm the one who calls the shots.
I would say you're right, but me personally would probably still want to be collaborative and probably want to understand the other's position as best I can. I'd want to listen to them. I want to, anything empathy is part of what your mission is all about. And I like to make sure the other person or people know that they've been heard. I think that is so
Mm.
important is for that person to know that you have heard them, not that you think you've heard them, but that you've really heard them. And so even if I have all the power and all the cards and I can do whatever I want, I'd still want to know. I'd want to hear from them. What are their intentions? What are their goals? What are they trying to achieve? What obstacles do they have?
Yeah.
And try to so anyway, without going a long thing, but I just really want to make sure I hear somebody and then be able to act on, if I can, on what I have heard from them.
Yeah, that's a great point. Yeah, you can have all the power, but it doesn't mean that you need to be, an a-hole about it, right? You can, yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah. Good. So I had one other question. Well, it's actually related to the one about power. As I was thinking this through, I was thinking, so I've now got 16-year-old triplets, right? And I remember when they
Triplets,
were,
did you say?
yeah, triplets, yeah.
Okay.
I remember when they were born, on paper we had the power, right? The parents, but nobody told the kids that. Nobody told like the triplets that. And so actually, they had the power, right? And so I think as I'm talking it through out loud, power is maybe a perception as well, right? It's a movable feast, and it depends, on from where you stand, who really holds the power.
Yes, I would agree. And speaking of that, my wife, her sister has triplets, but they're in their
Wow.
they're in their early 40s. So when you said they really have the power, I get it. I understand.
Yeah.
I've known these kids since they were born. I get
Wow.
it.
Yeah.
God love
Yeah. Yeah.
you. I'm surprised you have time
Yeah.
to do this.
Well,
But
it's 9:30 at night time here in Barcelona. Why do you think I'm here?
I get it now. Yeah, I get it. Yep,
Yeah,
yep.
yeah, yeah.
Oh, great
Listen,
story.
Gerry, talking about power,
Yes.
your book, Power Moves. Let's talk about that. It's coming up. It's out. Let's talk about that. Who is it aimed at? And give us an insight into the book.
It's not quite out yet. I was hoping the publisher would have liked to have had it the end of the quarter. I just don't think we're going to make that.
Okay.
It's been written several times now, and the editor keeps saying, we need to really add this or slant it, whatever. So it's delayed, but it's getting better all the time. But the book is this is what it's about. I have been greatly impressed by the work of two Harvard professors, David Lax and James Sabinius of Harvard,
Mm.
who came up with an approach to negotiating, which I just think makes all the sense in the world. It's called 3D negotiation. And 3D negotiation simply made up of three dimensions: setup, deal design, and tactics. And every negotiation, whether you think about it or not, probably has at least one of those elements, but to be effective, it should really have all three of those elements. So, make a long story short, what I've done is I've taken, I think it's about 12 very well known uh, people in business and technology, people like Sam Altman of ChatGPT or OpenAI ChatGPT, Warren Buffett, Mark Cuban, Kevin O'Leary, Tom Brady, the quarterback of the Tampa Bay retired Tampa Bay Bucket, or retired from the Buccaneers, and several other people that people would probably know. And what I've done is I've taken their negotiations or their best negotiations, and I have shown how each one of these individuals has utilized the 3D negotiation framework in their negotiations. Now, I think it would be fair to say none of them actually knew that they were doing that, but they were doing that. They
Mm.
wouldn't have been able to identify it or put their finger on it or plan it, but that's what they were doing. So I show how all of these negotiators, in reality, they went through setup, deal design, and tactics when they put together the deals that I've put together in the book. And then after that, I have worksheets and some other other things that people can use to to implement the 3D negotiating framework in their own negotiations to help them prepare, help them create deals that have value for both parties, and to have improve their tactics. But the bulk of it is basically on setup and deal design. Tactics, there's so much been written on tactics,
Yeah,
that
yeah,
I didn't. I mean, I do have some things on it, but the value is in setup and deal design more so than
yeah. I
tactics.
like that. Yeah, yeah.
And so
Um,
that's the book. And I hope Power Moves, Negotiators on Negotiating, hopefully second quarter.
Excellent. Yeah, I read your article. I think where you broke down Gates and Steve Jobs. Right,
Yes,
you broke that
yes.
through the window of the 3D process as well. I really enjoyed
Yes.
that. That made a lot of sense. So, are these excerpts that you're putting on LinkedIn? Are they from the book?
Um, that one is not from that one did not make the cut. It's on the cutting
Okay.
room floor, as they say in the movie industry. And it originally started with 33 different, there's that number 33, but it started with like 33 negotiators, and through editing, et cetera, we're down to 12. But yeah, I've got a lot that I'll still be putting out there from the research that I've done for the book
Excellent.
that didn't make it into the book. But you've got the sense from even reading what I put up there, you've got the sense of what all of this will be. Each one of his different situations and circumstances and how they dealt with all the situations, but it all follows that same framework.
Yeah, I like that framework. I mean, I remember reading it as well a few years ago, but I think you go and you explain it in much more detail, and you give many more examples, and it reminds me of Bruce Lee. One of Bruce Lee's sayings: "I'm not really scared of somebody who knows 1,000 techniques. I'm scared of somebody who knows one technique, but they've practiced it 1,000 times." And I think if you just look at that, the 3D model, the setup, the design, and the tactics, if you look at that as a model for all of your negotiations and practice that over and over again, you could be pretty powerful in your conversations, in your negotiations.
I would agree. And like I said, when I started, when I first started taking negotiating classes in the late 70s, early 80s, it was all about you got to remember this. If he says this, you say that. I can't do that. But I like this framework because I can remember setup, deal design, tactics, and
Right.
of course you got to
Yeah.
do all the work that goes behind it. But I could at least remember that easily,
Yeah. Yeah.
especially as I get older.
Well, Gerry, we're coming to the end. It's been fascinating. I've really enjoyed this, but I just want to ask for our listeners, if they want to get hold of you, how can they find you? And what's one thing that you're working on right now that's really exciting you?
First of all, they could get a hold of me through LinkedIn, and it's Gerry with a G, Parran, Parran, on LinkedIn. Email Gerry, Gerry dot Parran, Parran at gmail.com. And then that's probably the easiest ways to reach me. Um, then, as far as what am I working on now, I've really gotten an interest in geopolitics and
Mm,
how how negotiations are conducted in the geopolitical arena. And actually, I did a book, an ebook only, and it's on my LinkedIn profile called "The Art of Negotiating with Tyrants," and it's how different people throughout the past 50, 60 years have negotiated with tyrants, very difficult people. Putin is the first comes to mind. So people like him who are very difficult, one track minds, and how did people deal with him
mm.
and others like him? So anyway, that's to me that's very exciting. Is how to use negotiating in kind of geopolitical situations.
Fantastic. I mean, look, we've just really scratched the surface here in this conversation. I really hope that, I can invite you back again and do a deeper dive. I did see that, how to negotiate with tyrants, and it did pique my interest. So it's an area that I'm interested in as well. So maybe we can go and do a deeper dive of that further into the future.
I'd like that. One thing I wanted to mention to you, Tony, something I really, really liked that you published, and it was your analysis of White Lotus, the ending of White Lotus, and it was in season 3, season 4, I can't remember, but it was they were on in Thailand on on this gorgeous resort, and there was this big negotiation at the end, which ended up surprising everybody. And you did an analysis of that, which I thought was superb. I like White Lotus. I thought it was a fun show, and I was really captivated myself by that sequence. And then the way you analyzed that, I mean, I showed it to my wife. I've shown it to a bunch of people. I said, "Oh, if you want, you gotta look at this. You gotta read this." I mean, he's really broken this down well, and you pointed out some things that I missed. And man, I got to applaud you. You nailed that so nicely.
Gerry, I have to tell you something. That wasn't me. I don't even know what White Lotus is.
Am I embarrassed? Can you cut this part out of the podcast, Tony? Well, I still was very impressed. Whoever wrote it, I was really impressed. If they're listening, you did a great job, whoever you are.
Whoever you are, whoever wrote that, yeah, Gerry, you're one of, Gerry's a big fan, but yeah, it definitely wasn't. I was thinking, I don't even know what White Lotus is. What is it? I don't know. Is it?
It's a television. No, it's a television show. I think it's a streaming show, and it's like on Netflix or Hulu or one of those. I just don't remember what channel, what streaming service, but it's one of those. So anyway, if you get to ever watch, you ought to watch the most recent season. It's the last episode. They have this negotiating sequence that is just outstanding, and I'm shocked it wasn't.
That's so funny. That's hilarious. Gerry, listen, you've got to promise me something. If you ever come to Spain, look me up, and if I ever come to Chicago, I'll look you up, because I think we owe each other a beer.
Oh, please! I'd love to get to Spain, and so would my wife, and I'd love to see.
That'd be awesome.
And I'd love to see Salva and hear his stories in real time.
We can make it happen. We can make that happen.
I would love that a great deal.
All right, Gerry. Thank you so much. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks, Tony, and thanks for your sense of humor.
It's been great. Thank you.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Bye now.
All right. Bye.